don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're just freaked out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty, so before I do begin, I'm aware it's been a while. Now, along with that, a few other things before we do begin. This series is one I've tried looking back into and wanted to continue and make another part to. However, whenever I reviewed every part of this series, I felt like I was missing something. There's either a part out there that I cannot find, or I simply may not have uploaded that part, so I could never fully be aware as to where the story ended off. So I'm continuing off of part 13, hoping I don't run into that video later while I'm editing this. Now, with that out of the way, let's give a brief summary, that way you guys don't have to go over and view everything else, unless you guys just want to go, hey, this is new, this is back, I want to go catch up on it, so I have a fresh new look at the series. I really do not care. Anyways, if I do sound annoyed, there's been a lot going on. Not only have I been having audio issues, but I've been trying to go back through certain things. And I've been able to finally get them in order. So, let's begin. Deku found out his planet home, Earth, has been murdered. Every human on the planet is basically being killed. They don't know how or what did it, but they do know that it was alien in origin. Deku, he's been promoted. He's no longer just a blooded yautja. He actually is seen as a more respectable and more of a leader, since now he's joined at least the warrior classification, where he does have a lot more of experience under his belt. Deku's been trying to train certain humans to start encouraging the yautja ways. Some of them, they were not easy to take to it. However, after some time and teamwork, Deku was able to get his team in order. As they beat a yautja, then thought, oh hey, a xenomorph will be easy. They were proven wrong. Now, Deku, he did bring up to the clan leader or the elder yautja of the people who do monitor the humans what he wants to do. And whenever this elder did hear about this, he did stare at Deku and look at the man. Well, this is something that Deku would be able to accomplish from what they have seen so far. They believe it would take a long time. Deku was given a year. He's already ran through 4 months of it. And, well, he's got 8 months left to figure out exactly what he wants to do with the humans, or find someone who can take this third spot, since Aki did get into it. She's going to be going on the hunt. Now, with a neat little bow wrapped around all of that, let's begin. We'll start with Midoriya. It has been 6 months since that has happened. Deku, he's still trying to go over everything. He has been trying to train the humans up, and he himself has increased his own training regiment. He's gained a whole lot more kills under his belt in this time. And many people, they actually do look at Deku with a bit more of a, well, the humans look at him a bit more curiously and a little bit more fearfully. Meanwhile, the yautja, they do at least show Deku a good level of respect for somebody of his classification. Deku is still pushed around by the higher ranking hunters, or the higher ranked yautja, because of him being a human. However, some of them, they even are impressed. But whenever Deku, he tried going to these people for at least asking them about a xenomorph queen hunt, many of them, they did turn him down. They saw him as, in a way of saying it, dead weight. They saw it as he would get them killed because he wants to go into the stars. And they were not having any of that. And Deku, yeah. After trying to train with the humans and see if he can get anybody fit enough, or at least in enough physical condition close enough to him, where they can go on this hunt with him, Deku has discovered something. Him currently staying in the middle of a room, as all the humans, they are on the ground. And Deku, he does walk over to a table and then go to grab a metal cup. Him going to bring it up to his lips as he does drink some water before going to turn back around, informing all of them that they actually are making him start to try a whole lot more, and he wants them to get a whole lot stronger. Deku asking if anyone's been sleeping on their training, as many of them they do talk about how no, they have not. And Deku, he is staring at many of them. He does find it to be kind of interesting. And the time that's gone by, the group of just the 6 combatants has grown a little bit larger. It's gone up to at least 20 people. And Deku, he's aware that some of them, they aren't ready yet. They still need more experience. Meanwhile, others, they actually are a bit more challenging. Well, they would be able to take on a regular human. Taking on a yautja, that would probably be a little bit harder, but he wouldn't see it as impossible. And that's something that Deku does keep in mind, as he is sitting down, and he is going over all the information. Deku with his predator mask on his face, as he actually is looking around a few other things and going over some data. Deku trying to cross-reference quirks with names, and more than likely, even just trying to figure out overall fitness of somebody. He's basically trying to compare stats. And while everything either is way out of whack, would not work in combat, or just seems ridiculous to Deku, he's still at least trying to make a list of people he would feel comfortable hunting with. It's basically just him and Aki. And while he's been doing work on the humans, she's been working on the yautja. And she may have actually found a candidate that, while she would hate to hunt with them, they're more likely to be the best bet. And that's something that Deku, he gravely regrets hearing. Since whenever he does walk into a combat room, where Aki and Tim are both there, you do have the combatants. They're currently going on what you can best describe as a beating spree. Since whenever they do walk into the combat room, you do actually have where they do walk over to a monitor and go to look up at it. As you do currently have one of the most popular things the yautja used to train. Many of them, they call it something simple in their language. However, there's no word for it in English or Japanese. The closest thing you can really find to it is arena, since that's basically what it is. The yautja most more than likely will probably use the word box or rectangle. However, Deku, he prefers the one he picked, since that's exactly what it is. And Deku is stirring up, looking as a yautja does go to throw out somebody in the ring. Then I'm going to bring their hands up and talk about how their prey has not been something that they can actually feel a blood rush from. Their simple match was not one that he could feel himself in danger. Now, many people, they are watching this, and Deku does find it to be intriguing. There's that yautja. From what he can tell, looking at the stats on screen, he's been in there for about, 5, 6 hours? Incredible. And then there's everything else he's seeing. He's taken on 68 yautja. And right now, the next one's walking into the ring. Deku, he actually does go to somewhat feel himself get a bit more amped up. This is their guy. If they can talk to him, convince him maybe. Maybe he's just stupid enough to go on an actual hunt with them. He doesn't like trickery like that, especially because he's at least started to develop more of the yautja honor code. However, he still will resort to it if possible. Deku just staring at the ring, as he does watch the next opponent walk in. And Aki, whenever she does see this person walk into the ring, she knows exactly who they are. As Deku, he does see a yautja he's not familiar with. However, Aki, she actually has to go to somewhat grit her teeth a bit and stare up. Her wanting this opponent to be the next one this yautja knocks out of the ring. However, as the match does start, Aki should start to think that will be highly unlikely, as you do have where the man, after at least a bit of a skirmish, he's thrown out. The match didn't even really last that long. In fact, if I had to give it a time limit, I'd say it lasted less than 3 minutes, where most of these matches would probably go from either 3 minutes to 5, or from 5 to 20 minutes. And that is just the problem. This person, they were taken out in relative ease. And that's something that Deku, he does find to be interesting. Okay, so they beat a tired and fatigued yautja. However, that's just it. The yautja was using advanced combat. And even then, whenever this person got into the ring, the yautja started slipping up. That's what gave this person the edge. They seemed to have more combat experience than them. In fact, if Deku had to put it in a way, that's frighteningly effective. And both Deku and Aki, they do actually make their way down. As you do have with the person, they're staying in the ring, and they're watching as Aki and the human Scar does come walking up. Whenever this does happen, you do have where the yautja does walk over to the side of the ring and go to bend down, asking if Aki has come to challenge her. No, I have not, elder sister. I see. Deku looking at the situation, as the yautja does look up towards him and talk about how he must be Scar. I am. Perfect. So, I'm curious as to whether or not you'd like a match with me. It's an interesting concept to say the least. What's in it for me? Well, I was hoping to actually make a bet with you. If you win, then I'll do whatever you ask. However, if you lose, I get to hunt you for an entire week. Now, Deku and Aki, they do both stare at the yautja, as you do actually have where many of the yautja, they actually are roaring out and screaming. They want to see this matchup. They want to see this yautja fight this human. As you do have where whenever Aki just tried to somewhat intervene, talking about how Deku is her hunt, Deku, he actually stepped forwards. Him actually going to reach his hand upwards as the yautjas help Deku up into the ring. The yautja, or Aki, just staring at her, or staring at him, somewhat confused and a bit annoyed. As Deku, he does turn back towards her and inform her that he is going to be alright. It doesn't matter what happens. He's going to come out of this perfectly fine. And they will have their third yautja. In fact, this should be all they need. Deku actually going to look towards the other yautja as they themselves are getting warmed up. Deku actually going to drop most of his gear as he also does going to set down his mask. Him starting to stretch out his arms before going to actually bring his hands behind his back, asking the yautja if they are going to want to hunt a queen with them. Now, the yautja does just stare back at Deku, as the comment he just made, he said a little too casually. And Deku, yeah. Him and the yautja, they do both feel eyes on them. As Deku, he's agreed to this fight. But the yautja, they just heard the terms of his side of the deal. And there's a problem here. She could walk out of the ring. However, many yautja could lose respect for her by doing that simple action. And the fact is, she's way too curious to fight Deku. She knows that many yautja, they've lost their life trying to kill that one. But she feels like she could claim that victory. And there actually is where Deku does go to bring his hands up in a fighting stance and asks the yautja if she's not going to fight him. And she does just go to bring herself up into a stance. As Deku and her, the moment you do actually have where she does rush him, Deku does go to rush him as well. And Aki, she actually does go to retreat back up to the viewing area, where Deku and the yautja, they can be seen going back and forth. And many people, they are watching the battle. As over the yautja goes for an attack, Deku, he does go to just block the attack, and they're going to try to counter. The yautja going to do the same thing as well. As Deku and her, many people can see them being dead even. And it's actually very fascinating to them. They can tell that Deku, he's similar in strength. He's exceptionally stronger than any human they've seen. And he's actually somewhat matching a yautja. That being what's surprising everybody. As the yautja, she actually has to go to try and throw out her left shoulder whenever Deku did go to miss a jab. She tried to go to throw him backwards again, away from her, so she can at least gain some distance and then go to rush in for an attack. However, whenever she actually had to go to do this, Deku, he was able to leap into her attack to fly a bit farther. And the moment the yautja did notice that, there actually was Deku. Whenever he gets in flying backwards, he did go to try to move his body down towards the ground while he was in the air. Deku being able to bring himself down to the ground, touch it with his feet, and then go to actually slide his body more down. As Deku does grab into the ring, and they're going to somewhat just pull on it as it is going to jump forwards. The yautja, the moment they did go to rush forwards for an attack, they did see Deku leap off. As they were trying to time it. It's going to be close, but if they're able to actually jab Deku or punch him across the face, they can get him. They can get him, and then they can squeeze him. They can just smash him into the ring and hold him down. Then this match is over. Then they have won. And you do actually have where Deku, him and the yautja, they're getting closer and closer. And as they're getting closer, Deku, he can tell. If he doesn't act fast, this is not going to go well. Deku actually going to bring his hands out in front of him, and they're going to somewhat just push off the ground. The moment Deku does actually bring his hands down to the ground, they do both start to spin around and away from Deku. Deku being able to flip his body around and then with both of his feet kicking the yautja directly across the face. As many people were watching that, as Deku, the moment he did go to do that, he did just go to jump back up onto his feet before rushing over towards the yautja. The yautja, the moment she did actually get struck in the face, she did get sent flying down to the right as she was sent down onto her right knee. And whenever she did go to somewhat try to turn to get back up and go to throw a right hook, there actually was Deku. She threw her right hook and it met with Deku's left hand. And Deku, he did just go to catch it. As Deku was holding her fist backwards, before it actually was slowly starting to make its way forwards. And people can tell by the expression Deku does have that he's trying to hold onto that with all his might. However, he's also trying to stay composed. As the moment that actually happened, Deku went to go bring his hands up, grabbing her by the dreadlocks and directly smashing her face into his knee. And the moment Deku did go to do that, he just going to pull over and over and over again. The yautja actually going to try to grab upwards and stab directly into Deku's side with their claws. However, Deku, he did just go to grab her and they're going to twist her by her wrist. Him actually being able to bring his hand up, as he does just go to pull upwards as hard as he can on her wrist, as he does directly go to dislocate and or at least harm the yautja's arm. And the moment this actually does happen, you do have the yautja, who they do just go to throw their head out forwards and directly smash Deku right in the stomach. As Deku, the moment that actually has happened, he does actually somewhat go moving backwards and coughing up. As the moment the yautja did go to do that, they did actually go to rush forwards towards Deku. Deku actually having to bring his hand up to block a heavy blow the yautja just sent towards him. As they do just start punching over and over at Deku, with their one good arm and the one that is somewhat slightly weaker. And the moment Deku actually feel the heavy punch, he does wait. As the heavy punch actually does crack and hurt Deku's arm quite a bit. And Deku, whenever he actually does somewhat feel the other punch coming, he counted 3, 2. Deku actually being able to bring up his right hand, and directly going to grab the yautja as it starts to just swing his body around. Him getting directly behind the yautja as he does go to let go of her wrist, and they're going to directly bring his hand up and going to wrap it directly around the back of the yautja's neck. As Deku is basically holding the yautja with his right arm upwards and somewhat bent, and the yautja's hair hanging directly down and her head right on Deku's shoulder. And Deku, he's just holding on to her. As while he's holding on to her, he does go to use his hurt hand to grab onto his wrist and pull a little bit more. As Deku, he actually does feel the yautja start to slowly lose strength. Her trying to just bring her hand up and try to grab or at least claw at Deku. As with her other hand, she's just trying to grab onto or at least punch into Deku's arm. And she's not getting much luck. However, Deku, he did actually feel her go to tap out. He did just go to wait. A second later, she passed out, and Deku, he just let go of her. As she fell onto the floor, and many yautja were watching Deku. Who he does just go to bring up his right hand, and they're going to look down towards his left. Him going to bring up his arm and find that, yeah, that's busted. And while Deku, he does feel a bit annoyed, he at least does look down towards the yautja. She's pretty strong, and she'll be a good addition to their team. So, it seems like they found their last hunter. As we do actually have Deku. He does walk out of the ring and grab a lot of his gear. As while he's trying to do it with one hand, you do actually have Aki. She does walk up and see Deku. Her going to toss something at him, as Deku does get to catch it and they're going to directly inject it right into his arm. As whenever he does so, he does have to wait a second before she's going to at least ask if he's going to want the spray. Deku looking towards her as she does at least hold up a bottle. Deku nodding as he's going to drop the syringe, or whatever it was, and going to catch the spray. Him spraying it across his arm, as he does at least hold his arm down and straight for a second. The strange material covering Deku's arm and wrist, it does harden before Deku actually is able to turn it, and they're going to grab something with that hand. As Deku, he just used basically what I will just be calling a cast in a can. Now, that's basically the best way to describe it. With that being said, the yautja, they actually would help Deku. As while Deku, he was trying to put his belt on, he was able to get it. However, there actually was Deku's mask. Whenever he went to go turn around to grab it, the yautja, she actually going to hold it up for him. As she does just look at him and talk about how Deku, he is a strong warrior, and she will respect her superior. Deku reaching out and grabbing the mask, as he does inform her. They are not like that. Deku is saying that she is a friend of his, a comrade. Deku grabbing the mask before he's going to bring his hand up. Deku, after clicking the mask to his face, he does bring up his right hand and directly pat onto her shoulder, telling her that she cannot think that way. Well, yautjas are like that. Humans, they don't like certain systems like that, basing everything on her rank. Deku then going to walk away. As Aki, she's going to look back towards the ring, where her sister, she's sitting up, and she's a bit annoyed. Her shouting towards Aki about something before Aki, she's going to roll something over to her, telling her that if she's going to need to go to the medics, as the humans would call them, then she needs to get there on her own. Her going to walk away. Now, with that being said, the humans, or Deku and his people, they have their hunters. And in 2 months, they will be going up against the Xenomorph Queen. Now, I believe that's a good point to leave this one off of. And I do hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing night.